Now we are discussing how to perform the gradient descent for neural networks. This n superscript 0 is giving the number of features in the first layer. If there are a number of features are 5, then n superscript 0 is 5. Whereas n superscript 1 is giving the number of activation units in the first hidden layer. So in the first layer, the number of hidden layers in the neural networks, number of hidden layers are only one. In that one hidden layer, there are suppose 6 activation units. Then n superscript 1 is 6. Finally, the n superscript 2 is giving the number of activation units in the final output layer. If n superscript 2 is equal to 1, it means in the output layer we are only having one activation unit. As we already discussed, we generally do not count the input layer as a layer. So this is a two-layer neural network in which one is hidden layer and the second one is output layer. Now, whenever we are calculating the W superscript 1, the parameters, the W superscript 1, the dimension of this matrix is n superscript 1, means the second layer number of activation units are deciding the number of rows of this W matrix, parameter matrix, and the columns of this W superscript 1 are decided by the number of features of the input. And similarly, we have the bias unit, B superscript 1. So the number of rows in the bias unit are decided by the number of activation units in the first hidden layer. Similarly, when we are calculating the W superscript 2, the number of rows of W superscript 2 are decided by the number of activation units in the second layer. Number of activation units in the second layer are 1. So this is 1. And the number of columns of the W superscript 2 are decided by the number of activation units in the first hidden layer. If the number of activation units in the first hidden layer are 4, then it is a 1 by 4 matrix. Similarly, we calculate the B superscript 2, that the number of rows of B superscript 2 are a number of activation units in the last layer. If the number of activation units in the last layer are 1, then B superscript 2 is a 1 by 1 matrix. This is how we decide the sizes of different matrices. Now I want to find the cost function. We already know the cost function is the summation of loss function for m training samples, sigma I is equal to 1 to m. The loss function is giving the relationship between the predicted output and the original output. Whenever the loss function is giving the minimum value, that means the predicted value and the original output value are near to each other. We already discussed this loss function is equal to minus y log y cap plus 1 minus y log 1 minus y cap. We have discussed. Now we want to add all these loss functions for the m training samples. We are taking m training samples and we want to add all the loss functions. That is combinedly called as cost function. Now this cost function, we want to know the changes of this cost function with respect to w and b. Why we are concentrating only with respect to the parameters w and b? Because we cannot change the x, so we are not concentrating the changes of the cost function with respect to x. Because this is a two-layer network, we have the w superscript 1 and w superscript 2. These parameters, we want to know how the cost function j can be minimized. We minimize this cost function j by using the gradient descent algorithm. After minimizing the cost function j by using the gradient descent algorithm, we find at what values of these parameters w superscript 1 and b superscript 1, w superscript 2 and b superscript 2, we are getting the minimum value of the cost function, and we will substitute these weights in our neural network. While finding the gradient descent, we already know the predicted value is y cap. Now we want to know how the cost function, we are differentiating this cost function with respect to w1. We are differentiating this cost function with respect to b1. We want to know how the cost function is being affected with respect to w1 and b1. So in the gradient descent, we can write the first two steps as W1 is updated as W1 minus alpha dW1. This alpha is the learning rate, and this dW1 is the differentiation of the cost function with respect to W1. And similarly, we are updating B superscript 1, which is B superscript 1 minus alpha dB. So this alpha is the learning rate and dB is the differentiation of the cost function with respect to B. After we have written these two steps, we can also write another two steps, that is a W superscript 2. This W superscript 2 will be updated as W superscript 2 minus alpha dW2. So this is giving W2 is updated as W2 minus alpha into the differentiation of the cost function with respect to dou W2. And similarly, in the next step, we will write as B superscript 2. This will give B2 minus again alpha dB2. This will give the differentiation B2. We are writing the B2, and after that we are subtracting the B2 from dB2. So this dB, what we are calling the differentiation of the cost function with respect to dou B2. So W1 and B1, W2, B2. Our gradient descent algorithm is ready. Now we will repeat these steps until we find the minimum value, or we can say when the differentiation is almost becoming zero and we are updating there is no update in the W1, there we are finding the minimum value. So that minimum values of W, the parameters are substituted in the neural network, then our neural network is ready to predict. So what we have done actually, we are discussing once again. First, in the forward propagation, we have calculated the Z superscript 1, which is W superscript 1x plus B1. Remember, everything here, the every terminology we have vectorized. The X means it is a matrix consisting of number of features, all training samples. The columns are representing the training samples, and rows are representing the features of all those training samples. So X is a n by m matrix. Now we discussed W superscript 1 is the matrix which is consisting the parameters or weights that are controlling the activation units of the first hidden layer. Now we want to know what is the size of the W1. That is possible when we know the number of activation units in the first layer. If the number of activation units in the first layer are R, then the W1 matrix size is R by N. We add the B1 because by using the broadcasting technique, even if we directly add the B1 scalar, that will be added to the all elements. So this Z1 is nothing but R by M matrix. Now we calculate the sigmoid function, or we calculate the tan H function, or RELU, rectified linear unit function. We want to apply for each and every element of this Z. So this G may be either sigmoid, or maybe tan H, or rectified linear unit, or leaky rectified linear unit. But one thing is sure, the Z matrix size is R by M, and the finally the outputs of the first layer are hidden layer activation units outputs. This matrix is R by M. Now we have the first hidden layer activation units. By using this first hidden layer activation units, which the matrix size is R by M, we are calculating the Z2. So again, Z2 is equal to W2. This W2 is again depending upon the number of input features. Here the input features we are using R by M. This A1 matrix is R by M. So we want to know how many activation units are there in the next layer. Next layer means output layer. In the next layer, only one activation unit is there. Because only one activation unit is there, it is 1 by how many activation units are there in the previous layer. Now input, we are saying it as R. So when we multiply 1 by R with the R by M, resultant is a 1 by M matrix. Now this Z2 is a 1 by M matrix. So in this Z2, we are having M elements. Each element, first I am writing this is Z2 1, means it is the Z2 of first training sample. Similarly, for M training samples, we will calculate. Now our Z2 is ready. The matrix size of Z2 is 1 by M. When we apply, remember, when we apply the G of Z2, if it is output layer, definitely we should apply the sigmoid function. The sigmoid of Z2, in the final layer, we will get the capital A as 1 by M matrix. So the capital A, now we are getting also 1 by M matrix capital A2. The second layer, in the second layer, we have only one activation unit, but we are getting 1 by M matrix, means this input, example, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is M. So this one is giving, example, this result something, this may be some 0.7. This 0.7 value output is the predicted output for first training sample. This is 0.6. This is the output for second training sample. And similarly, some 0.4. This is the output for mth training sample. So all the M training samples predicted outputs are given in a single matrix because of the vectorization we have done. This is what we are calling as a forward propagation. By taking the input features X, we have calculated the Z. By using Z, we have calculated the activation units of the first layer. By using the activation units of the first layer, we have calculated the Z2. By using the Z2, we have calculated the activation units of the final layer. By activation units of the output layer, activation units of the output layer is nothing but sigma of Z2. This sigma of Z2 is what we are calling as a predicted output. So the predicted output of all M training samples we are getting in a single matrix, that is capital A. Now we are discussing about back propagation. What we are actually doing in the back propagation. First, we are finding the differentiation of the loss function with respect to A. This is dou L by dou A, and we are finding dou A by dou Z, and from that dou Z, we are calculating dou Z by dou W2, and also dou Z by dou B. Remember, every time now I have to write the superscripts also. This is A2, this is Z2, this is Z2, this is Z2, this is B2. Already we know until this point. But now by using this derivation, we are calculating this derivation also. By using this derivation, we are calculating this derivation. From this, we are calculating the changes in the cost function with respect to W1 and with respect to B1. So the differentiation, if we write on the paper, we have to calculate for differentiation, we have to go in this method. The first step, second step, third step, fourth step. This much long differentiation, and from this we want to calculate the W1. This much long differentiation is needed. From our previous knowledge, we already know that this last layer is we should apply the sigmoid function. From our previous knowledge, we already know. So when we differentiate dou L by dou A and dou A by dou Z, that is giving A minus Y. But remember, we are calling that as a dz, dou L by dou A and dou A by dou Z. So if I am writing dou L by dou A, we are calling dou L by dou A as dA for our convenience, and dou A by dou Z. Remember, The combination of these two is called as dz. Dz does not mean only dou A by dou Z. The combination of these two is dz. What is dA means? Only dou L by dou A. Now dou L by dou A into dou A by dou Z, what it is? dz. We already calculated dz as A minus Y. But here A minus Y we have to write as A superscript 2 minus Y. Now we want to calculate what is dou Z into, we are adding one more point now, that is dou Z by dou W. So if we calculate the dou Z by dou W, it will become dou L by dou W. So this dou L by dou W we are calling as dW. So what dA means? It is the differentiation of the loss function with respect to A. What dz means? It is the product of differentiation of loss function with respect to A and differentiation of A with respect to Z. And what is dW? Now three terms product is coming. What is dW? Three terms product. Now dW is nothing but dou L by dou A and dou A by dou Z, and it is dou Z by dou W. But for our convenience, we already know, but for our convenience, we are taking this dou L by dou A into dou A by dou Z, this as a dz. And we already calculated dou Z by dou W is giving X. But here, dou W, dW is, we are writing as a dW2. And dz we are writing as dz2. And instead of x, here x means input. Instead of x, here we are writing A1. A1 means previous, we are getting the input from the previous layer. So we already calculated the dW. This dW is a matrix. So it is the multiplication of dz and A1. Now we want to calculate the dB. We already know dB is nothing but dz. Here we are adding dB superscript 2 is dz superscript 2, because we already know dW is equal to dz into x. dB means dz. We already familiarized with these terms. But now I want to extend this to calculate the differentiation dA, dA1. What is this dA1? Again, we have to say the differentiation. We are using the differentiation with respect to the previous one. So now I am calculating directly the dz1 instead of calculating the dA1. Remember here, even though we have taken the sigma, that activation function may be either tan h, or that activation function may be either a rectified linear unit also. That's why we are writing simply the differentiation, means prime we are using. Remember, g1 prime z superscript 1. We are not writing what is this g. We don't know whether it is a sigmoid function. We don't know whether it is tan h function. We don't know whether it is a rectified linear unit function. But here you have calculated, because here we know the last layer output is definitely sigmoid function. That's why we calculated as A minus Y. But here we do not have the provision to calculate. That's why we are restricting to write simply it as a prime. Prime means a differentiation of that function. Okay. Now, similarly, when we are calculating the differentiation dz, remember this dz means it is a combination of these two products I am combinedly taking. So this dz, for the time being, if you don't understand, remember this topic, this dz is the product of the next layer. What we are taking, w2 transpose, w2 transpose into dz2. So we are taking the next layer parameter W2 transpose. By using the dz2, we are calculating the dz1. Now, this multiplication is the element-wise multiplication. We will see, we will discuss some more about this term to understand why that multiplication is element-wise multiplication. So first remember, what is this W2? We already discussed. W2 is the matrix which is consisting N2, means the final output layer as the rows. Example, if in the final output layer only one activation unit is there, then the rows are 1. Then if example in the first hidden layer there are 4 units, then it is a 1 by 4 matrix. Okay, there is no problem. We have calculated the dimension of this W2. Now what is this DZ2? This DZ2 is nothing but we are calculating for last layer, activation unit. How many activation units are there in the last layer? Only one activation unit. So dz2 is a 1 by 1. So this dz2 is a 1 by 1 matrix. Only one element is there in the dz2. So we want to multiply w2 into dz2. How it is possible? One is 1 by 4 matrix and another one is 1 by 1 matrix. That's why we are taking W2 transpose. So this W2 transpose is nothing but this is a 4 by 1 matrix. And now DZ2 is 1 by 1 matrix. This is a DZ2. DZ2 is a 1 by 1 matrix. If we multiply 4 by 1 matrix with the 1 by 1 matrix, resultant is a 4 by 1 matrix. Now this product is a 4 by 1 matrix. Now we want to know what is the differentiation of the Z1? It is a very simple question. If we know the number of elements in the first layer, the differentiation of all elements will be same. We already know Z1 matrix size is 4 by 1 because 4 activation units are there. Differentiation is also 4 by 1. So this is 4 by 1. Now, how can we multiply a 4 by 1 matrix with another 4 by 1 matrix? Matrix multiplication we are not performing. We are performing a simple element-wise multiplication. So that's how, if I represent simply by using the N1, N2 terminology, you can understand. Even we have discussed already. So in order to make you convenient, I am again discussing with N1 and N2. Remember, N0 means the number of units in the first or zeroth hidden layer, zeroth layer or input layer. N1 means the number of activation units in the hidden layer. N2 means the number of activation units in the final layer. Now, the dimensions of W2, we already discussed the dimensions of the W2 is the dimensions of W2 is nothing but we are taking the dimensions of W2 is N2 comma N1. N2 is the number of units in the last layer. N1 is the number of units in the first hidden layer. But we want to we are transposing it. Because we are doing the transpose, it is becoming N1 by N2. Now already we know what is DZ. When we are multiplying with the prime, the resultant is the N1 by 1 matrix. This is what we have done. So we are revising what we have done. First we have calculated the differentiation dz2 means it is nothing but the change of the loss function or the change of the cost function with respect to z2. This is a minus y. We already know this. By using this, we are calculating the dw2, which is nothing but dz into x. Here x is nothing but a1, dz into x. By using this, we are calculating by using the same dz, we are calculating the db also. This is dz, right? Now we have calculated the dz1. Dz1, how we are calculating? By using the same dz2. The previous dz2 we are using, and we are multiplying it with the W2 transpose, and we are multiplying with the G1, the first layer, the differentiation of the all activation units of the first layer. Okay. Now from this dz1, we are calculating the dw1. What is this dw1? Again, dz into x. Dz into x means input. What is the db1? It is dz1. We already familiarized with the all equations. Only this one equation we have to familiarize. In this equation, we are writing the multiplication of the W2 transpose means the next layer and DZ2. Again, we are multiplying with the differentiations of the activation units of first hidden layer. but we want to vectorize it. Means for m training samples we have to calculate, not for single training samples. For m training samples, already we discussed about the forward propagation. In the forward propagation, how we will proceed, the z1, a1, and so the same steps we will take. The z1 w1 x plus b1, it will give the a1, like this. Now how to write the vectorized representation for the backward propagation? Here, instead of taking small a2, we are taking capital A2. What is this capital A2? This is the matrix which is consisting the activation units for the M training samples. For the M training samples, all the activation units are there. Here, the number of rows are representing the number of activation units. The number of columns are nothing but number of training samples. If the number of activation units, example, in the second layer is 1, then it is 1 by M matrix. Similarly, this is also called as a matrix which is consisting predicted output for M training samples. Already we know Y. Y means it is a matrix which is consisting of real outputs, original outputs. This is the vectorized DZ2. By using this vectorized DZ2, we are calculating DW2. So this DW2 is equal to DZ2. DZ2 is a matrix, and A1 transpose. A1 is again a matrix. A1 is a matrix which is consisting number of rows are number of activation units. Number of columns are the number of training samples we are giving. Why we are writing 1 by M? We want to find the average. That's why we are writing the M. Next. Now DB. DB means directly DZ. We can find the sum. For that, in the NumPy, we can write np dot sum DZ2 axis equal to 1, because to mention that, make sure that all the column elements sum, you perform the all the column elements sum. Now there is no problem to us, because we want to calculate only the all the columns element sum, and the keep dimensions true. Sometimes it may give the dimension followed by comma. To avoid that, we are writing keep dimension true, it will give comma 1. Okay, now we have calculated the dB. Why we are calculating dB in this manner? Because we want to find the sum of all elements in this matrix. To find the sum of all elements in this matrix, we are using this np dot sum of dz2. Okay, right. Now we are calculating in the next step dz1. Dz1 is nothing but w2 transpose into dz2, g1 prime z1. Again, dw1 is nothing but 1 by m dz1 into x transpose. We want to do the average. That's why we are writing 1 by m. Again, for db1 also, we are writing 1 by m numpy dot sum dz1 axis equal to 1, keep dimensions equal to true. This is the code we implement for the back propagation. Now, by using the forward propagation code, we are finding the final activation function output or the predicted output. By using the back propagation, we are finding the relation or the how input parameters, we can say the W1, the parameters W1 and W2, the parameters are changing with respect to the cost function. Based on this, we will apply these steps in the gradient descent algorithm. In the gradient descent algorithm, we use only 4 steps. One is DW2 we will use, and the DB2 and the DB1 and DW1 and DB1. We will keep on updating. So W1 is equal to, we have written already gradient descent. You can observe, we are going to that gradient descent step again. This is the step we are doing. W1 is equal to W1 minus alpha DW1. That's why we have calculated the DW1. B1 is equal to B1 minus alpha dB1. That's why we have calculated the dB1. Again, for the second layer, W2 is equal to W2 minus alpha dW2. B2 is equal to B2 minus alpha dB2. This gradient descent algorithm will give the minimum value of the cost function, and at what parameters we are getting the minimum value of the cost function, we will extract those parameters and we will apply these parameters to the neural network, and finally our neural network is ready. Now we are confirmed that whatever the input we are giving, our neural network is ready to predict the outputs with very minimal error. For that, we are using two algorithms. We can say three algorithms. One is we are using forward propagation, second one is back propagation, and third one is gradient descent. In the forward propagation, we are calculating the predicted output. In the back propagation, we are calculating the DW and DB. And finally, we are applying this DW and DB in the gradient descent.